Welcome to another episode of the Consistency Corner podcast. I'm really fired up for our conversation today. And this comes off of the heels of a couple of posts I saw online from some other entrepreneurs who I really respect, and a conversation that I just had with an upcoming podcast guest all about shiny object syndrome and income claims. And when I say income claims, here's what I mean. Those posts that you see that are like, I'll take you from $10,000 a month to $10,000 a day. Or here's how I made $30,000 in 3 days. It's that like, what's the one thing that you have to do to get the instant results? And it's gross and it's not true, but everybody's doing it, at least in the online space, they're doing it because it's clickbaity and it works. And like our logical brains know that no, not everybody's going to turn around and make $30,000 in 30 days or whatever the claim may be from doing that one thing. Because in our gut, in our brains, we know it's never just one thing, but we want it to be just one thing. We want the easy button. We want the microwave quick fix. We want the 5-step process that if we can just follow, it'll happen. And here's the thing, there are processes we can follow that will get us there, but they are not instant. They take time. And the nuance of those processes can't be communicated in a 15-second reel or a hook of a post that you read or a subject line of an email. And I always say this to my community and clients that guess who's really good at marketing? Marketers. So you often find people, business coaches, marketing coaches, consultants, strategists, giving you those hooks, those clickbaity subject lines, those, oh, if I just do what she does, I can have the same thing. I have thought, honestly, I have thought this is gross for years. I remember probably 4 or 5 years ago now, I was listening to a Jenna Kutcher podcast, and like, I'm not a huge Jenna Kutcher fan. Like, she's fine. Her content is fine, but I'm not a huge fan. So I don't listen to her content all the time, but I happened to be listening to one episode several years ago, and she talked about having a $10,000 launch day while she was, I think, pregnant. I don't think she was on maternity leave. Yeah, she was pregnant, but she was like, yes, because she was talking about her morning sickness and not feeling good, but like, oh, I had a $10,000 day. And what makes me frustrated about that is that in that like short little sound bite, she doesn't say how much money she was spending on ads. She doesn't say how many people are working on her team. She doesn't say how many years she's been doing this and all the things that went into the success of that $10,000 day. And it's frustrating and disheartening for people just starting out to hear that, because you go try the one little tip or trick that they gave you and you don't make $10,000 in a day and you're like, oh, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. It's these gross income claims. It's the same as like the health and fitness industry that are like, lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks or just walk your way to 20 pounds lighter. Like, there's so much more to it than that. And logically, again, we know this, but whether it's our marketing, growing our business, parenting, other types of relationships, health and fitness, personal development, all these areas where we're looking to make improvements, because we have so much on our plate, we're like, oh, a quick fix. Yay. Yes, I'm going to click on the thing, take my money. And then we're once again frustrated. And so that's why I think income claims are gross. But as I was working on some of my own content this month, I was writing a client case study about one of my clients who we took from $3 million in revenue to $5 million in revenue in about 18 months. And I was writing a LinkedIn post about that. And I was like, so what did it take? Consistent content. That's it. No, that's not it. And I literally said this in the LinkedIn post too. Like, that's not it. The compound effect of consistent content was one of the many things that helped this client increase their revenue and get to where they wanted to be in their next level. We also did a lot of work around their branding and messaging. and identifying who the ideal client was, and the language and the words that we needed to connect with that ideal client so that the content we were creating could be effective and consistent. And not only were we looking at social media content, but we were also looking at long form content, email content, collaboration content, meaning podcast guest appearance, guest blog writing, and events such as trade shows or networking events. Plus, on top of all of that, we spent some ad spend to get some data and amplify the messaging. So yes, my client did go from $3 million to $5 million in about 18 months. And they had gotten to that level of success, the $3 million mark, without a lot of marketing, without consistent content. But what got them there wasn't going to get them to the next phase, right? So enter the consistency corner. We came in to help them amplify their content game. And what amplifying their content game was really able to do was help them solidify relationships through content, because content is a vehicle for relationships, and relationships are what lead to sales. Now, the CEO of this company is a great salesperson and actually has a marketing background. But as the brand has scaled and they are now a company of 22 service providers, he doesn't have the time and the bandwidth to create content and be on sales calls 24/7. He's got other things to do in leading the company. And that's why I want to impart on you that successful CEOs are not also the CMO, because those are two different roles. And it's important as a CEO, when you're ready to take off that marketer's hat, when you're ready to go from being an entrepreneur to a true CEO, and I'm going to talk about in a second how those two things are different, it's important that you bring in a strategic partner that cares about your results as much as you do. And some agencies and marketing specialists are going to just fluff you up and give you vanity metrics, or they're going to focus so narrowly on one part of the funnel or one metric that they're not even looking at your bottom line and sales. And it's a huge conversation about who is ultimately responsible for conversion or sales. Is it the marketer's job? And we've talked about this on the podcast before, how marketing and sales, they work hand in hand. They've got to be best friends. They've got to work together. They are different, but they have to work together. But if you are the CEO and you are ready to start hiring strategic support, to outsourcing some of the major areas of your business so that you have the capacity to lead your team, to better serve your clients, and have the vision space to continue to grow to the next level and ideate on the next steps for your business, having a strategic marketing partner who cares about marketing and sales is really, really important, because we all know it's not just one thing. And a marketing specialist, whether it's an ad agency or a brand specialist or a video TikTok coach or whatever it is, that person is likely going to be very focused on their one area of specialty. But I didn't say that right, but you get what I mean. Their specialty. And as the CEO, you can't ask them to wear the CMO hat when they're not a CMO. So then that means you're not truly taking off the marketing hat. You're still being the CMO. You're just adding specialists to your team. So if you're in the space that you're ready to go from being an entrepreneur to a CEO, when you're ready to go from being scrappy to strategic, you're ready to stop the hustling and start the visioning, and you're ready to go from growing to protecting and growing with intention, you need a marketing partner who might be more of a generalist. And that can be delivered in a lot of different ways. And one of the things that we do at the Consistency Corner is fractional CMO plus implementation. So as a fractional CMO, I can come in and be your strategic marketing partner. We're going to set that whole strategy for your brand. And if you're like, okay, Ruthie, that sounds great, but I don't think I'm ready for a fractional CMO. Like, I've been doing my marketing okay, and I've got a handle on it, but like, I'm just not an income level yet that I can completely outsource that. Well, that's where a done for you 9 grid could really help you, because that's going to take some other marketing things off your plate. And I can create a content plan that you can follow, or your team can even follow if you have internal team partners who can do that. But the point is, you are going to want somebody who is strategically thinking about marketing and how it relates to your sales, and looks at the forest through the trees. And I see so many business owners chasing that shiny object, chasing that clickbaity thing that a great marketer is telling them they need, with those gross income claims that don't tell you the whole story. So let's stop with the gross income claims. And when we see people doing that, like, let's just take a pause. All of us take a pause, a breath, before we click that, like, learn more, tell me more, sign up, give your email. Because yes, we can sometimes learn from them, but we also have to know that that's not the whole story. And in fact, a podcast episode that I was just recording before this was doing a guest interview that'll air in a few months with a business coach who's actually been coaching for 20 years, before Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all the places. And the coaching industry was really small at that time. In fact, she was sharing that she is regularly, in the beginning, was the only woman when she was networking with other coaches or in masterminds with other coaches. It was all men. And that's a whole nother conversation we can get into about masculine and feminine and patriarchy and all of that. But my point being, the program that she works with her clients today, I thought this was so fascinating that she said this, is a 2-year program. So she's a business coach who focuses on taking 6-figure businesses to multiple 7 figures. And her program, her group coaching program, is 2 years, because this stuff doesn't happen overnight. And I thought it was so interesting that she shared that up front and said, like, people have told her and advised her, don't share that. Don't share that publicly until you have somebody on a sales call. Don't tell them that until you've sold them the transformation that's possible, or the other side of the work. But she was like, yeah, the work it takes 2 years to get there. And, one of the programs that I've been in with a coach recently was a year, because she's like, I'm not giving you a 6-month program because it takes longer. It takes longer to learn, to implement all these different areas, and microwave quick fixes just don't work. It's not that they don't work ever, but they don't work unless you've gotten the exact right, I guess, like circumstances or not credentials. What is the word I'm looking for? Prerequisites to make that quick fix work. And a good program is going to set you up for the long term so that we can set those great things in place, which again goes back to, as a CMO strategy plus implementation package for my clients, we start with a brand audit. We make sure that your brand messaging is where it needs to be, that your brand details and your branding is on point for the goals that you want to achieve. And then we build a marketing strategy, and then we start to implement. But if we just dive in right away, in 30 days, your results are not going to be any different, because we didn't do the foundational work necessary to get different results. So as you think about where you are in your business, today I want to really encourage you to kind of think about that perspective shift of entrepreneur versus a CEO. And I can tell you, I get it. You have to be an entrepreneur for a while. And the entrepreneur is scrappy and often has to hustle a little bit, often is wearing all of the hats, and that's okay for a season. But that's not the season you want to be in forever. You are going to want to build to that CEO level. And, full transparency, I'm in entrepreneur mode. I had a 6-figure year last year, and then revenue, guess what? It dipped a little bit. The projections were not happening the way I thought they would, which also very real, but people don't want to talk about that. People only want to talk about massive growth and 10xing their revenue and doubling their income and whatever. Again, clickbaity claims. But dips in revenue, plateaus, these are all real things that happen. And so as I was in a space where, I was really feeling empowered as a CEO and was adding to the team, the revenue started to dip and plateau. And now I'm in a space of, okay, we're a little bit more in the entrepreneur headspace, right? Where we're doing a lot of the things. And part of the entrepreneur space of doing a lot of the things myself is really evaluating what actually moves the needle. And again, this goes back to a return on investment, but I can't decide a return on investment without data. I can't decide if I have a return on investment if I don't know what I want that investment to actually do for my business and how it fits with all the other pieces and parts. And an example of this is I've had a VA that has supported me for a long time with podcast editing, podcast production, and podcast content repurposing. She does fantastic work. It's actually a VA agency. They do fantastic work. They're great. But because my revenue has not hit where I need it to be based on our projections for the year, I have decided to pause that investment. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm not doing my podcast anymore? No. Today, what it means is that I will be taking on all of that work myself. And I'm giving myself a time frame of 90 days to determine, is the podcast doing its job? So that I can measure, is this investment of either my time or my money for someone else to do it worth it? Is it moving the needle? And before we even say, does it move the needle? I have to ask myself and understand, what is my podcast's job? Where does it fit in the funnel of attract, nurture, convert? What lever are we asking it to move in order to get to the sales number? Because podcast listens don't necessarily equal sales. Podcast downloads don't necessarily equal sales. Now they could. And again, we have to look at the whole ecosystem and we have to understand, where are we in terms of audience size? Where are we in terms of audience engagement? And, that nurture factor of, are people moving down the funnel and opting into any of our resources or following us on social or opening our emails? How are they, interacting with us after they've come into our world? And then ultimately, when I do sign a client, after someone says, yes, Ruthie, I want the Consistency Corner to be my marketing partner. I want to work with you. I want you to do a done for you 9 grid for me, or I'm ready to bring you on as my strategic marketing partner as a CMO. Is that client telling me, I listened to your podcast and decided to work with you because of that? I've hired clients or had clients hire me in the past that said, I didn't know you had a podcast. Well, then in that case, the podcast was not doing its job. But, we make tweaks and we change things over time. Going into 2024, I did a strategic podcast content planning session with a podcast strategist and came up with a list of topics for how we were going to use the podcast in order for it to do its job, and then defining, again, what that job is. So that's where we are today. I am in the midst of transitioning from VA support, where I'm investing my money, to time investment of investing my own time in the podcast. And, I'll take you along for the ride and share in our weekly emails on how things are going with the podcast and whether or not this is a platform that is giving me a return on my investment in my marketing strategy, and how that moves the needle towards my sales strategy. Because here's the other thing. All of these things that we do in our business as marketers and CEOs and business owners, the market is always changing. So what worked previously might not be working anymore, but it's not always that we need to just stop and abandon it. Maybe it just needs a tweak. So getting data to be able to make those tweaks is so incredibly important, and giving yourself a window to measure that data so that you can make an accurate result or accurate assessment of whether or not this platform, this strategy, this investment is actually working for you. That's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I wanted to share with you today about my client and the case study around consistent content, because it is something that I'm really proud of, that upon working with me, that client was able to almost double their revenue in 18 months. But I also want to be transparent that it's not just because we had consistent content. That's a big part of it, but that's not it. And as I work with other business owners and clients, that's my goal for them too, is that we build out a holistic marketing strategy so that we can move the needle in the same way, in a way that works for your business, because it's not just one thing. It's not a cookie cutter solution that the next guru is selling you in a 15-second reel. And I encourage you to find that strategic partner, whether it's me or someone else, that can really help you take your marketing to the next level and help you take off that marketing hat so you can wear your CEO hat and do so much more as you grow your business. So thank you guys for being here today, and I will see you on our next episode. Keep sparkling.